Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. It is Monday, and we're coming on live just to share a thought and a reflection as we go into this week. It's like the last, not quite. We're getting close to the last week of November. Sorry, I don't want to rush us into December already. So I'm just coming on just to share a thought. And I just want to thank Colby Lidstone, who shared our message on Sunday. Week number 2 in the names of Jesus through the book of John, the I am statements of Jesus. And so Colby dug into I am the gate, I am the door, and I just did a great job. So if you haven't had a chance to hear Colby's message from Sunday, please want to encourage you to head to our YouTube channel and get a chance to listen to it there. And when Jesus was talking about I am the door, I am the gate, he was referencing the sheep pen, which is made of stone. I mean, it was in that time, in Jesus' time when he walked the earth, it was a very common thing. Sheep were everywhere. There were sheep pens, both in small villages, but out in the fields as well. And so he was referencing these stone sheep pens, and there was only one way in and one way out. And Jesus is saying, I am that door. I am the only way in, and I'm the only way out. And so Colby gave us lots to think about, and I trust that many of you will be having some further dialogue this week as you dig into this further, and to really understand why Jesus responded and chose to respond at the time and share that name for God, I am the door. To understand that further, it's valuable to read John chapters 8, 9, and 10 and try to put yourself in that story and see what was Jesus seeing that caused him, that led him to share what he shared in John 10. Now, throughout the book of John, so John, of course, is giving us the account of Jesus from his perspective. But what you'll find is that Jesus, through each chapter, it's like Jesus is on trial. And John keeps putting the question out to us, the readers. You know, he's saying, here's Jesus, here's what he's doing, here's what he's saying. What will you do with him? What will you do with Jesus? And so what is important is to continue to go back to the very first time that God revealed himself as I am in the Horeb wilderness. And he appeared in that burning bush that never burned to Moses, who was a shepherd. And Moses was actually not even shepherding his own flock. He was shepherding his father-in-law's sheep at that time. And God, he calls Moses by name. He calls out for him, and Moses responds and says, here I am. And when Moses asks the burning bush, the voice in the burning bush, who are you? God responds with, I am that I am, which literally means I exist because I exist. Totally different from us. We exist because our parents existed, and they exist because their parents existed. So we are because others have brought us in to the world. We exist because of others. And so we cannot know ourselves outside of the context of each other. We see reflections of who we are. We understand ourselves in the context of being in community and being around other people. So that is not God. He just is. He is not formed by anyone. He's not influenced by anyone. He just is. I am that I am. I exist because I exist. Now, we are created in the image of God. So we read about that in Genesis. The book of Genesis tells us that God created man in his image, and that it was good. It was very good. But when Adam and Eve were deceived and went their own way, that image was broken. So instead of being defined by God's perfect image, and his perfect image creates reality, we are defined by imperfect images that distort reality. So that is our human struggle. That is what sin has done. It's distorted my vision. It's like wearing glasses that are distorted. It's distorted the vision of who I am, who we are, and who God is. So in Scripture, when God reveals something of himself, it reveals something about us and our nature. So when we look at what God is revealing about himself, we see his perfect image. He's showing that to us. And then how our image is distorted and doesn't match that image. We see that, wait a minute, that's not me. That's him. But it's like seeing in a mirror and seeing not clearly who we are. So in the case of I am the gate, Jesus is the only way into the sheep pen. He's the only way in. Anyone who takes another way, he says, is a robber and a thief. And this is why, as Jesus reveals himself, there is both offense. So in the first week, I talked about the offense that happens, and Colby talked about offense this week as well. So there's both offense and there's an attraction, because we are seeing the distorted image of ourselves and the perfect image of God. So some hear when Jesus says, I am the gate, and think, well, who does he think he is? I know the way. I can point to the truth. I uphold all the rules and rituals. I can say who comes and goes. Immediate offense, because they can see that they don't measure up, but they can't believe, no way, that's not true. So offense arises. And there's actually a famous quote that I've heard a number of times, is that offense of the mind reveals the heart, what's happening inside. So for others that hear that Jesus is the gate, it's like such a relief. They don't have to do all the things that all the people have asked them to, like, phew, God is here and he is the gate. I can go through him, and not on my own strength, not on my own merit or somebody else's. And there's this joy. I feel so much better because he is the way. And so there's this relief and attraction that, oh, thank goodness. So my question for all of us this week is, in what ways does Jesus offend you? And in what ways is he attracting you? There's this push and pull. And that's what John is telling us in scripture. He's saying, what are you going to do with this Jesus? What's attracting you? What's pushing you away? What are you going to do with the stuff that's happening inside of you? And so I want to encourage you to spend some time and just ask Jesus to show you what's happening in you. As you recognize what offends and what attracts, what does he want to restore in you so you can see him more clearly for who he actually is? Not in light of yourself, but in light of who he is. And remember, his names actually help us see him more clearly, and they help us see ourselves more clearly. And we don't define Jesus. Culture doesn't define Jesus. Jesus defines himself. I am that I am. We have to look to him and what the scriptures tell us about him. So be blessed this week as you seek Jesus for all that he is. And I pray that you would see his perfect image and recognize the beauty of that, and how he so longs to restore the distortion, the distorted image in us, so that we can reflect him so much more clearly. Now, next week, we are studying Jesus as I am, the resurrection and the life. And so I want to encourage you, if you want to do some digging beforehand, that statement is in John 11. So check it out in John 11, and we'll see you back here next Monday. Bye for now.